Hey, good morning, everybody. This is First Warren Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich. I wanted to do a quick update on Mathew, even though Mathew is way far away. And I think that's the one thing I'll impart on you every day until we get to the point where we need to start really worrying, is that Mathew is still about 5 days away from the northern Bahamas, which means that would be about 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 days away from any potential impact in the Carolinas. So we've got time to watch, and also time to kind of see if things play out the way they're looking right now. My level of concern is still low, but you should be paying attention. That's my word of caution for you today. That's what you need to do. Here's a look at the circulation now. You can see the visible image. We're getting the loop in today. It did a little loop overnight, which means it's starting to make that turn to the north, which was expected, but it didn't do it quite as sharp as some of the guidance indicated, which is pretty good because that means it's rounding this curve out. But it certainly made a little move to the north this morning, I should say, and that northern movement should continue into the afternoon. Let me show you the latest track, and again, I like showing the cone, even though we've got the line in here. I would not worry about this line too much because that line is not really indication of where it's going to be. You got to look at this whole cone, we call it, and you can see in 5 days we expect the storm to be up here in the northern Bahamas. But it could be anywhere from very close to the Florida coast, which is why there should still be concern there, or way over here. This is a huge range of over 300 miles in the air. So we expect it to be somewhere in here in 5 days. Look, it's still 5 days. It's down here. We've got time to watch in the Carolinas. And I think really the key will be once it gets up in the Bahamas, we'll have a really good idea on where we think it's going to go. Let me show you the model guidance. And again, for every time I post the updated track, people always say, "Oh, it's making that." I don't want it to curve back to the west. But remember, that is expected. That's in the model track. Here's the consensus track. You see this S curve going back to the west, but then there's another curve that goes this way. One thing you have to remember about the Hurricane Center forecast, they only go out 5 days. So if I can only show you 5 days, I show you this part here. When we go a further day in the future, I'm showing you this part. When we go another day into the future, I'm showing you this part. So you can see, so as it looks like it's shifting west, we're just showing you more of the long-range expected track. That being said, you can see there's a pretty wide spread in the track guidance. Some of the track guidance does have a landfall near the Outer Banks, Carteret County, Morehead City, but also a bunch out here. If you were to take the average, or the mean we call it, it's somewhere in here. This is just too close of a call for the Outer Banks and the Carolina coast. I would definitely still be paying attention, especially the further east you go, because obviously the Outer Banks and eastern North Carolina kind of sticks out into the Atlantic. Because it sticks out like this, we have potential for more impact from tropical systems. So that being said, let me show you some of the other guidance. First of all, I like showing you this because this is the ensemble. These are all the runs of the GFS model. You can see that the main track is basically that S curve offshore, but we're still in the blue. That means there's several runs that still have a landfall in the Carolinas. So that's why we need to pay attention. The European, the same thing. Even though its consensus or mean is just offshore, it's got an even wider spread here, some still with landfall along the coast. So basically what you should take from this is not a lot of change from yesterday. Even when you see updates to the forecast track and it looks like it's curving back west, we're still looking at that S curve to take place. Now, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, this curve occurs back to the west. If we don't see it start to turn, or we don't see the trough digging down from the west, which is going to kick it out, then we would have issues. There's going to be high pressure back here, which initially is going to nudge it this way, as well as a little low here in the Gulf. That's what's tugging it this way. As it gets further north, remember, the later we get into the autumn or October, the more the westerlies and cold fronts and all these troughs come down. The westerlies take over. So the slower and longer we go, the better the chance it has of recurving. The one thing we have to watch out for is if high pressure builds here in the Atlantic and shoves it back to the west, then it would have an impact on the Carolinas. But these are things that are still not really well known, because just like any forecast, those positions of those features in the atmosphere aren't known this far in advance. So be cautious, pay attention, have a plan now, but don't freak out, don't panic, and don't get concerned. And for everybody worried about the race here in the Charlotte area next weekend, right now I don't expect this to have an impact on us, because even with the most pessimistic scenario of it hitting the coast, we would still be so far on the west side, we would be on the dry side. So I hope you have a great Sunday. Don't sweat it out, Matthew. We got plenty of time to watch. The good thing about hurricanes, they don't sneak up on you like tornadoes. It's not 19-minute warning. You have days and days and days to watch this, and you will know if it's going to impact you long ahead of time. It's not going to be a surprise. Hope you have a great Sunday. Go Panthers, and I'll post another update tonight or tomorrow if there's any changes.